V.A.A. But this just goes to show you how many more Republicans were added to the rolls over the last 2 years. Since June of 2015. And I can tell you guys, I mean, you go back and look at 2012, the voter registration trends, this was the exact opposite for Republicans in 2012. AB and EV, I spoke to a lot of you guys during AB and EV, and we kept hammering away, I think, almost every day when we would do the phone calls on AB and EV. We were successful with AB and EV. Yes, we were behind a lot of these states, but you can see the gap was cut in half. I'll just point out Florida, where Governor Romney and team, we went into Election Day down 168,000. This cycle, we were down 85,000. So I think that was a big testament to our field operation. Chase, not only pushing absentee ballot requests at President-elect Trump's events, but also our Chase program was very effective as well. And now I think it's Garrett Lansing.
So we had a fairly practical problem, which was we had to build this field team. We had to go find a bunch of people to apply and train and go through the whole thing. And so we knew we had a lot of energy out there, and we needed to capture it. So one of the things we did is we built this whole program, an advertising campaign around the hashtag LeadRight2016, which you can go on right now and check it out. People still use it quite often. And so we led with these videos we made, and we'll show one of them right now, and I'll talk through how we utilized it.
I will never forget the date. We finally had a diagnosis. She's on the spectrum. She has autism. I felt there must be other people out there that are going through the same situations, and I needed to be a voice for them. I joined the RLI program. They gave me the tools that I needed to be a better leader in the community.
To all those moms who just make it work, where you lead, others will follow.
The Republican National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So, what am I pointing here? Spicer, maybe you figure that out. Oh, there you go. So we made 5 of those ads in-house. Several of them ran on TV. And we put together this larger program where we wanted to focus on telling stories about people in the field who were doing this. And we, in fact, launched our own Instagram account that exclusively covers the field team. It's not about getting like 1 million likes or 1 million followers. It's just about covering the field team so that people felt like they were involved and that they could relate to people far away in different states that they were doing the same things. And so we knew, again, that there was a lot of energy, and this is how we came up with capturing it. And so over the course of 5 weeks in January and late December, actually, we would release a teaser of like a 10 to 15 second on Wednesday, and then the full ad on Friday across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to a group of people that the data department had modeled for us that looked like all of our current volunteers. So it went after a larger audience and then found them on those networks and then delivered them those ads. At the end of 5 weeks, we, through email and cost per acquisition ads, we got people to sign up, actually apply for the program. We got about 10,000 applications in 13 days, and our goal for the spring was 8,000 in 3 months. So again, we think we did a good job of capturing that energy and then delivering it over to Carr, where he could train these people up and then deliver them into those field team models that you saw he just went through. So a big part of what digital has to do is it raises money and win votes online. Those are basically the two things, and we try to avoid everything else. And so we just talked about some of the winning votes online and building that team. Email is involved in both winning the votes and raising the money. In fact, with all the fancy technologies and data out there, it's still the killer app, we like to say. And we wouldn't be able to do nearly as much without it. And so we made a $12 million investment starting in about mid-15 through mid-16 in building up our email file and our email team, along with all the infrastructure behind it. And for a federal committee to be able to do that and put hard dollars behind that it's a big investment. And I credit Katie and Chairman Priebus for following through on that, because it wasn't easy to do, but it ended up paying big dividends on the winning votes and on the money side. So in the 5 months that we teamed up with Team Trump, we raised $250 million online. That's about $1.6 million a day. on the voter side, on vote.gop, where we directed everyone to go request an absentee ballot or look up an early vote location or register, we drove 710,000 actions to vote.gop, and our cost per registration on email was 6 cents. So an incredibly valuable thing to be paired with a large field team that was talking to people in person, but also following up with people on their email and on advertisements. And so this cycle, this sort of ballet where you talk to someone or show them something online and then they see someone in person from the field team either the next day or the next week, let's say, is a pretty complicated thing to put together. And overall, it involves the data team and the technology department and the digital team. And so overall, we saw 2 billion API calls into the RNC data warehouse in 2016, with 600 million alone in October. So that means if you're using RNC tools and data as a city councilman in Oklahoma, let's say, or you're the president-elect of the United States, you're using the same tools and calling into the same data warehouse. And if you are requesting an absentee ballot on vote.gop, but you don't return it, we'll maybe email you, and then if you still don't return it, we'll send someone to your door from your local neighborhood to ask you to actually return it. And so accomplishing all that is pretty complicated. It's kind of the 90% of the iceberg that's underwater you can't really see. But the 2 billion API calls is a good metric to demonstrate the scale of that whole operation. So another large part of the just the fundraising side was what we were doing on Facebook. And so Facebook has really distinguished itself as the key fundraising and advertising platform in digital politics, I would say. We spent $200,000 to $300,000 a day on Facebook for 150 straight days, and we were positive ROI every single day. 2 of our biggest days, we spent over $1.5 million, and again, we were positive ROI every single one of those days. So part of this was, how do you set this up to scale as large as possible? We had a competitive buying structure where there was multiple buying teams competing for a percentage of that day's spend every 24 hours. And every 5 minutes, we would be altering the ads that those buyers would be able to get. And at the end of the day, at usually about 3 in the morning, an API would split the next day's buy based on the performance of the previous day's buyers. So if Sean was one of the buyers and he did really well, he would get more than I did the next day because he was making better ads or was utilizing the data better, whatever reason it is. And so that adds up to 40,000 to 60,000 different ad variations in a single day, every day for 150 days. And again, on some of our biggest days, we did over 175,000 different ad variations in one day. And so Facebook rewards people for putting that amount of variations because it wants to show the best content to its people so that people will engage with it. They don't want to show all the users bad stuff or else it's going to ruin the advertising platform. So it rewards you to spend more time and to set up a structure where you're altering the ads and ad combinations at a really high rate every 5 minutes, and again, 40,000 to 60,000 a day. And that operation was run by Gary Kobe, who's an RNC staffer, in close collaboration with Brad Parscale and his team on the Trump organization.
I'm going to just touch on one quick thing before handing it back over to Bill Skelly. But one of the things Garrett talked about was the 2 billion API calls. That goes back to our data warehouse. Those happen because people work, candidates work with us all the way down from the state house to really obviously the nominee and now the president-elect. But this just gives you an idea. I think there are a lot of questions that have come at me the last 2 years about our Senate candidates working with your data. And I can say unequivocally, every single Senate candidate running for Senate this cycle across the map worked with with Bill Skelly in our data warehouse. You can see literally the names of the staff members that we worked with on a daily basis. We had weekly calls over the weekends with them, and then daily, requests would come into Bill Skelly and Liam O'Rourke and Ashley Burns on our data team that would say, hey, can you guys build me a specific universe for my candidate in my state to talk to my but I think it's really important. The overall goal, one of RNC's overall goals with this, and something that we've been really forward-leaning on, is that there's no reason that every single time a voter contact is made by a Republican candidate, that every single person running for office as a Republican shouldn't benefit from that voter contact. And so that's the idea here. And so I think you'll have a lot of candidates have realized over the last 4 years, and it really came into focus on Tuesday night, exactly how valuable having all that data stored in one place is, and the only place for that data to live is the Republican National Committee. That's been a major focus of Chairman Priebus's, and it really came to be helpful on Tuesday night for every candidate. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Bill so he can talk to you guys about what we were seeing leading into Tuesday night.
Prescriptive analytics. Our goal was not an academic goal. It wasn't to see how close we could predict the election. It wasn't, it was to give everyone a path moving forward. Now, obviously, accuracy helps with that path, and we'll show you that here shortly. But this wasn't, a study in big data or a study in how we can conduct better survey research. It was how can we use this research to get people elected up and down the ticket, and that was really the outcome we were shooting for. In August, when we sat down, and we're going to walk you through a plan of how we developed some of these universes, this is the battleground map that we were looking at that was plus or minus 3 points in either direction. So as we put this path together with the campaign, working with Brad and others up in New York, this is kind of what we were staring at. By October, the map had shrunk considerably, but the goal was to continue skating to where the puck needed to be. We didn't alter the path. We didn't alter the plan. To everyone's credit, we stuck that we could get people back to where we needed to be. And I'll walk everyone through that here shortly. But the goal was to, we set a goal early. It was going to be data-driven. We knew where we needed to be at the end of the day, and we continued on that path throughout the entire course of the election. By the first week in November, the map had expanded pretty considerably, as you can see. We now had 13 states in play, and we felt confident in all of them. We looked at what we had done. We had built a 50-state voter scoring operation. So when states like Michigan and Wisconsin come into play, we don't have to scramble to put together universes. We didn't have to scramble to build a path to victory. We had a plan in place. We had an incredibly robust data set, and we were able to immediately begin operating and spinning up a path to 50 plus 1 in those states. As you can see, we ended up winning 9 of those 13 states. Excuse me, I skipped ahead here. But here's the U.S. Senate map. Not only were we looking at this from the presidential level and from down ballot, but we were also looking at Senate races. As Katie mentioned, we were working with each of them on pretty much a daily basis. We were very confident in our ability to hold the majority. We had 52 seats. Exactly who was going to vote for Election Day universes. Here's how we kind of stepped through getting the 50 plus 1%. We started by projecting turnout in every single state. And this is a Florida example as of October 1st, just to kind of walk you through how we got there. At that point in time, we expected turnout to be about 9.4 million, 9.413 to be exact. And we set all of our vote goals at 50 plus 1. And we got asked a lot of times, why did you set them at 50 plus 1? There's third-party candidates in the race. You didn't probably need that. We wanted to set it high. We wanted to set it at what we knew we would need in order if we wanted to win outright. We weren't sure exactly what the third-party candidates were going to get. They always poll higher than they show on Election Day. And so we wanted to make sure that we were giving Chris Carr and the field program a lead enough that they would be able to hold regardless of what those third-party candidates came in at. At that point in time, we had Mr. Trump's vote at about 4,047,000, meaning we were about 753,000 short of the vote goal. We needed to find, in this period of time, about a month and a couple days, we needed to find 753,000 additional votes. Again, just because we showed that we were 753,000 votes short, we weren't saying we were going to lose. We were just saying this is prescriptive analytics. We now need to come up with a path to victory. How do we find these people? And here's what we did. First of all, we started with solidifying the base. We had a large number of what we call underperformed Republicans, people that had maybe shifted 15 points in their support of the Republican Party or of the nominee from February through the end of the election, or maybe they were supporting Senator Rubio more than they were supporting Mr. Trump. And we mapped them out, and we saw that we were performing pretty well up in the Panhandle, north central Florida, but we had room to improve down in the southeast. So we turned these underperforming Republicans over to Chris Carr, over to the television buyers, over to the digital team, and we began hammering them to move them home. We felt that was the lowest hanging fruit, and if we could move these people back to where we thought they should have performed in a generic sense, we knew we'd pick up a couple points.